Hi everyone, and welcome back to our beautiful community here where we learn and grow together. Tell me a little bit about you. How are you? How do you feel? What are you up to these days? Always remember that you are special, right? And you can do it. So, let's continue talking about the simple past tense. In this video, we're going to continue talking about the simple past tense, and we're going to talk about the negative form of the simple past tense and the two questions form of the simple past tense with the irregular verbs. So first of all, let's make a quick revision of when do we use the simple past tense. If you remember, as I have told you, we use the simple past tense to talk about finished actions in the past. So if we are talking about actions that started and finished in the past, this is the simple past tense. In the simple past tense, we have two kinds of verbs. The first one is the regular verbs, right? These verbs, they accept the ed when change them into the past tense. And the other type of verbs, which is the irregular verbs, these verbs, they don't accept the ed, so we need to change the whole form of the verb in order to change it into the simple past tense. Like, for example, some of these verbs, like eat, ate, speak, spoke, have had, sing, sang, run, ran, write, wrote, teach, taught, buy, bought, bring, brought, begin, began. So different verbs, and as I have told you, you need to memorize these verbs in order to master them and use them in different sentences. Now, in this class, we're going to talk about how do we change the verb into the negative form in the simple past tense with the irregular verbs. It's the same rule. It's the same rule. To change the sentences into the negative form, we need to add didn't plus verb 1. Verb 1 means that we need to change the verb to the base form of the verb. So if we have one of the irregular verbs, for example, ate, if I want to change it into verb 1, I need to change it into the base form of the verb, which is eat. So, for example, he went to the shops. If I want to change the sentence into the negative, I need to add didn't. So, he didn't. After didn't, you need to pay attention that the verb must be verb 1. What is the base form? Verb 1 from the verb went, it is go. So, the sentence will be, he didn't go to the shops. So after didn't, you need to pay attention that the verb must be the base form of the verb 1. For example, she had a piano lesson. She, to change the sentence into the negative form, we need to add didn't. So she didn't. What's the base form of the verb had? It's have. So she didn't have a piano lesson. So let's take a look at this question. The question says, change the following sentences into the negative form. Sentence number 1, I bought a new car yesterday. To change it into the negative, we need to add didn't plus verb 1. So where do we add didn't? We add it after the subject. So I didn't. What is the base form of the verb bought? It's buy. I didn't buy a new car yesterday. We took an English class yesterday. To change the sentence into the negative form, we need to add didn't plus verb 1, the base form of the verb. We Didn't, what is the base form of the verb took? It's take. We didn't take an English class yesterday. Adam chose the red jacket to wear yesterday. What is the base form of the verb chose? It's choose. So Adam didn't choose the red jacket. The teacher gave us a homework yesterday. Base form of the verb gave is give. So the teacher didn't give us a homework yesterday. We went to the park. We didn't go to the park. I had a terrible headache last night. I didn't have. So to change the sentence into the negative form, we need to add didn't plus the base form of the verb. So you need to change the verb into verb 1 after didn't. If you have some of the irregular verbs, you need to memorize. You need to think what is the base form of these verbs. Now, according to the yes or no questions, if you remember, yes or no questions, they are the questions that have the two answers, either yes or no. How do we form the yes or no question using the simple past tense? It's super easy. We start with did, then the subject, then the base form of the verb. So for example, did you eat? We don't say did you ate. No. Did you eat your breakfast? For example, yes, I. If you want to use the verb in the past tense, eat in the past, it's ate. Yes, I ate my breakfast, or no, I didn't eat my breakfast. So you need to be careful. Did you buy a new jacket yesterday? Yes, I. Do we say yes, I buy a new jacket yesterday? No, buy in the past, it's bought. So yes, I bought a new jacket yesterday, or no, I didn't buy a new jacket yesterday. Now, this is according to the yes or no questions, and according to the WH questions. If you remember the WH questions, like who, if I am asking about a person, where for the place, when for the time, why for the reason, and what for things. How do we form WH questions? We start with the WH word, right? Then we need to use the auxiliary verb, which is did, then the subject, then the base form of the verb. So for example, where did you go yesterday? I went to the park, for example. We don't say I go to the park yesterday. No, I went to the park yesterday. So let's take a look at this example here. For example, we have the sentence, she had a piano lesson yesterday. First of all, how do we change this sentence into the negative form? We need to add didn't, then the base form of the verb. So she didn't have a piano lesson yesterday, for example. To make the yes or no question, we need to start with did, then the subject, then the base form of the verb, which is did, then the subject, which is she. Did she, do we say did she had? No. Did she have a piano lesson yesterday? Yes, she had, or did, or no, she didn't have a piano lesson yesterday. If I want to make the WH question, we start with the WH word. For example, what? Then did she or you have yesterday? She had a piano lesson yesterday. For example, the second sentence, I bought a red car yesterday or last week. How do we change this sentence into the negative form? We need to add didn't, then the base form of the verb. So the sentence will be, I didn't buy a red car last week. How do we make the yes or no questions? Super easy. We start with did, then the subject. I'm asking you. Did you? The base form of the verb. Do we say did you bought? No. Did you buy a red car? Yes, I bought a red car last week. Or no, I didn't buy a red car last week. If I want to make the WH question, we need to start with the WH word, which is what, then did, then the subject. What did you buy? What did you buy last week? For example, I bought a red car last week or last month. So you need to pay attention according to the verbs. If you are answering with the affirmative form, you need to use verb to, which is the verb in the past tense. After didn't or the yes or no questions or the WH questions, the verb must be verb 1. Okay, the last example here we have you wrote a book last year. To change the sentence into the negative form, we need to add didn't. So you didn't. What's the base form of the verb wrote? It's write. You didn't write a book last year. To form the yes or no question, we start with did, then the subject, then the base form of the verb. So did you write a book last year? Yes, I wrote a book last year. Or no, I didn't write a book last year. To make the WH question, we need to start with the WH word, which is what, for example, or when, or where, for example, or why, then did, then the subject, then verb 1. So for example, when did you write a book? When did you write your book, for example? I wrote my book last year. So this is everything related to the simple past tense. I hope you enjoyed this class. Thank you so much. And please don't forget to practice your English, form different sentences using the simple past tense, and don't be afraid of making mistakes. We all make mistakes, and this is the perfect way to learn. Thank you so much, and see you soon.